So let's bring in our guest. His name is Seyi Peters. He's a finance personnel. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to be here this morning.
Thank you very much. Seyi, I beg your pardon. He's a finance professional. So let's get right into it. We're talking about equity, diversity, and all that. How can an organization, create a more inclusive workplace, culture that supports diverse career development pathways?
Yeah, for a couple of years now, this has been an ongoing process in almost every organization, especially an organization that is very deliberate about this concept. It has to be something deliberate, and it will always start with the company's culture and policy. Now, if it's not embedded in the culture, there's no way the organization can carry this out. And I think that's the starting point. It has to be well embedded in the core values of that organization so that it's something that can be well implemented. At least moving away from the past, we've been able to make considerable progress in this regard for a couple of years now. But I can tell you, there's still a long way to go, both home and abroad.
Yeah, I agree, right? It's interesting that you just said it. So my colleague Olumide has said earlier on that the male-female disparity has been eradicated, right? When it comes to,
I stand to be corrected.
yeah, when it comes to heading a particular institution. But I want you to talk to us when it comes to equity. Has that been eradicated?
No, it hasn't. But I would subscribe to the fact that there has been a very considerable progress in that regard. And before I left Nigeria, at least most of my bosses and heads of department have been females. So we've been able to make some progress. And I think females tend to they make good
Right?
leaders.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've been a product of female bosses, so I know what I'm talking about. And,
Okay.
from my own point of view and experience, they push you more. Yeah, they make you get the work done, and you get to. I think that's just for me anyway. That's my own experience. So we can do more, but at least we're glad that females are given room now to run shows, if you can permit me to use that word.
No, it's fine.
And taking a cue from what is about to happen in the US now. Kamala Harris.
Yes.
But my problem with that is the US ready for a female president?
Well,
it's a free nation, so
I mean, they're over 200 years old when it comes to democracy. So what are we talking about?
But yes, historically, if you look at it historically, have we had a female president in the US? Is it now time?
Yeah.
Will it not be a free ride for Mr. Donald Trump?
Well, that's you just opened a can of worms. Yeah, but there's something I would like to ask Olumide, my colleague. You said you like it when you work with female bosses. I wanted to ask Olumide, do you like it working for a female boss?
Yes, just like he said,
pushes you.
It pushes me. I feel indifferent whether it's male or female. I feel indifferent about it. But let's look at mentorship. Yeah. I know a lot of people, when you talk about mentorship, people are indifferent about it. Some people are indifferent, some people want mentorship. But how can companies, create some form of mentorship program to help people build their career? And should it be encouraged also?
Yeah. Okay, let me start this way. I'm very much opposed to people who believe that or who oppose this concept of self-made. There's no such thing as self-made. Take it or leave it. We're all products of relationship. Yeah. For me, I've enjoyed I've enjoyed mentorship right from, let me say, right from my secondary school days until now. You know, I've had people who have contributed to what I've become today. So mentorship is something that should be encouraged, especially in the workplace. To remember very early, okay, I started my career in the bank anyway. Let's not mention it.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate to have a wonderful team leads who believe so much in you. One thing I've noticed that if, Yoruba people will say, "Omo to ba shepa," I may not be able to interpret that.
Yeah.
When you show that you are ready to learn, when you show positive attitude to work, and you are fortunate to have a good team lead, they are ready to be part of your career journey. And that has been my own experience. So it should be encouraging the workplace, essentially for a company who has what we call succession plan in place. If you have that in place, you would automatically subscribe to mentorship because, okay, who are the guys that will take over the reign in the next few years, And with this season of Japa, if you don't do mentorship, you're going to be left stranded as a company.
Now that you talked about mentorship, let's talk about inclusion. Could you describe for us what inclusion even means? Let's take a look at the topic again. We're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in career development. What's the role of inclusion in career development then?
When we talk about inclusion, it's about providing equal access, equal opportunity for people to be accepted into a workplace or into any career platform. You understand? There's no such thing as discrimination in terms of age, in terms of race, in terms of religion. The door is wide open. You understand? And that's why the hiring process in Nigeria today has to be overhauled to make sure that the process is inclusive in the sense that you're not discriminating against anybody. Just come and prove your worth at the interview. And again, talking about the hiring managers themselves, I want to go before a panel now. That panel should also be diverse and inclusive.
Yes.
You are attending an interview and it's just one person. You understand? That his interview is the hiring manager. That if that guy has bias as to your race, forget, no matter how you perform at that interview, you are not having that job.
Yeah.
But imagine you have different diverse people on that panel. You might be able to ace that interview because that interview will not be subject to someone else's bias or prejudice.
All right,
Well
so
said.
let's look at another interesting one here. This is talking about equitable access to career development. How can a company ensure that there's equitable access to career development? Basically, there's no bias when it comes to access to certain things, going for training and mentorship, like you said, also inclusion. How can a company ensure that?
It all starts with the deliberate policy in that regard. Let it be in black and white. Then the next step is that process has to be subject to continuous audit. Continuous audit. I say it again. Now, if we have put it on paper in black and white, okay, now we need to ensure that the hiring managers or whoever across all functional areas in the company, they are following the policy. We need to be sure that there is compliance. You understand? So let's subject that process to continuous audit. Are we complying with the policy? By the time we're able to do that, and there is constant reports in that regard that, okay, this thing is being complied with, then we can begin to make progress, and eventually it becomes part and parcel of the company.
I want us to take a look at the other side of this. We are talking about career development in total. Let's take a look at human capital for a while. Lots of companies do not place premium on human capital. Why is this a pitfall?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And I think one of the challenges is I will use Nigeria as a case study. The operating environment is very, very
Harsh.
difficult. Very, very difficult, except for a few companies. And there's this thing they call lip service or greenwashing. You understand? It's something else on paper. It's something else that we'll see in operation. You understand? Now a company says, okay, people are my best asset. It's there on paper. You even see it on advert. When they come on the screen, that's what you see.
Yeah.
But eventually, I will tell you that today, diesel has replaced human capital in most companies.
Yes, I agree.
Take it or leave it. Because now diesel is now prioritized over human capital, because we need to open shop every day. If you permit me to use the word shop in quote, we need to open shop every day, and the diesel must just run. You understand? You are not guaranteed of 24/7 light. And imagine we're putting so much on diesel. It is whatever is left that we will put on human capital development. So you will see that in most companies today, there's no such thing as training anymore. There's no training. There's no career development. It's the same thing you brought into that company that you are left with. And people today, employees today are now left to self-train themselves.
Yeah.
Go get that certification on your own. Go do this one on your own. If you really know that you want to move to the next level, unlike in the past, in the 80s, in the 90s, you get into a company, and you can be rest assured that you'll be trained across the board till you get to managerial level. You are sent to courses even abroad. That today is no longer available. Everyone is self-training now. So I think it's the difficulty in our operating environment, which we can only hope will improve sooner or later.
Yeah.
All right. So in closing, what can you say to employers in order to create an equitable, diverse, and also be able to increase productivity? What would you advise employers, CEOs, managers, and HRs?
Yeah, I would simply advise that if they want to go all the way, you want to see that company succeed, be in a system for the next few years, you need to ensure to be deliberate about this concept, embed it in your policy, and subject it to continuous audit so that that process is sustained over time. If they can put this in place, I'm sure the future is bright.
All right.
Well said. Thank you very much, Seyi Peters. We do appreciate your contribution.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
You have a wonderful day.
You too.
You too.